Is the Garmin Fenix 7 Sapphire Solar still a relevant choice for rugged outdoor smartwatches in 2025?
This is my review. Choosing the Fenix 7 was not a decision made lightly. After comparing it against the predecessors and other models like the Forerunner 955 Solar and the Epix Gen 2, the Fenix 7's Sapphire screen, battery life and memory pixel display were the defining factor. The Fenixes have always have a rugged outdoorsy look, and this version is not an exception. I really like how I can partially change the look and feel of the watch, allowing it to fit better into more situations and occasions. Check out my review of the third-party straps if you want to see more. The battery life has been great, and I get about a week of battery life when I track activities almost on a daily basis. If you're not tracking, you'll get 19 days of battery life in smartwatch mode with the touchscreen on, or 21 days with it off. The solar panel on the Fenix series is not meant to recharge the watch, but to slow down the discharge of the battery and, in effect, prolonging the battery life. I haven't had the chance to do long-haul tracking in sunny conditions to verify Garmin's solar claims, but I did get 6 days of tracking 8 to 10 hours per day on a hiking trip last summer in GPS-only mode. This is more than enough for my use case. I was considering using the expedition mode on this trip, given how insane the battery life is in this very mode, but ultimately I decided against it due to its limited metrics, including lack of basic altitude measurements and other essential data. The Fenix 7 Sapphire Solar has not the best readability in every kinds of conditions and angles, but in my use case, it is really not a big problem. I really don't mind this display. It is nice and contrasty out in the sun when I need it the most. The Pro version, although, has enhanced visibility if that is important to you. The memory pixel display is particularly suited for activities that require quick glance in direct sunlight. Whether I'm cycling through bright landscapes or hiking during a cloudy day, the display remains its visibility. Moreover, the memory pixel display allows for an always-on display without significantly impacting the overall battery life, which is really nice when you are checking out your display during a multi-day hiking, knowing that it will not affect battery life. Make sure to turn off the auto backlight during tracking, and in general to get even better battery life. In my experience, setting the screen brightness to 5 to 10% in general is sufficient for most use cases whenever you need the backlight. And speaking of light, this watch also has a flashlight. It is not as great as on the Fenix 7 Pro, which is an actual LED light, but if you're navigating through completely dim environments, it will actually get the job done. Initially, this sleep tracking feature had accuracy issues, but it has improved tremendously either by learning my sleep patterns or through updates, or even maybe a little bit of both, becoming more reliable as it seems to adapt to my sleep patterns. The stress tracking function has proved accurate and offering guided breathing exercises that are quite helpful in managing day-to-day stress effectively. HRV is a metric I have started paying more and more attention to. It has completely changed my view on alcohol and how it affects the body. During this year's The Great Strength Test in Norway, a 570-kilometer bike race with multiple climbs, endurance and hill scores will be very useful metrics that will help my preparedness and performance ahead of this race. I've done a bit of both outdoor and indoor climbing and bouldering with the Fenix 7. Aware of the risk of scratching the watch during these activities, I purchased a TPU cover. This cover absorbs impacts and safeguards the frame, which easily gets scratches. The tracking functionality is consistent with the Instinct 2, which I reviewed in detail in my climbing review of that watch. While tracking climbing activities can be beneficial for monitoring progress, such as the number of falls, duration, and height of climbs, it isn't ideal for everyone. The watch can be cumbersome and even hazardous in certain climbing scenarios, risking damage. Thus, while the tracking feature for climbing and bouldering is available and provides detailed metrics, it may not suit all climbers. I did use the hiking trip for my 10-day trip from Oppdal to Steinkjer last year. This is part of a multi-year hiking project from Norway's southernmost point to the northest. As mentioned earlier, I did get 6 full days of tracking in GPS only mode. One thing I really enjoy over the Instinct 2 is the improvement of the altitude measurement. The altimeter could likely be the same sensor located at almost same spot as on the Instinct 2, but the main difference is that the Fenix 7 snaps to its known elevation in its maps when you set the elevation to automatic. This vastly improves the altimeter when hiking in several kinds of conditions, as altimeters are sensitive to wind. In terms of its built-in maps, I did use it a bit, but I found that small screen too small for any practical use cases in general. Without a dedicated bike mount, I found it downright dangerous to follow a preset course. Cross-country skiing has been one of the activities I frequently track with the Fenix 7, and it offers specific profiles to cater to the nuances of this sport. In my use case, XC Classic activity has been my go-to, and I have set it to GPS only mode in order to preserve battery life. This accuracy is more than enough for my use case, but I'm planning to do a couple of races next year, and then I'll probably set it to SAT-IQ or even all satellites in order to get the best accuracy. Last year, I embarked on an ambitious bike touring adventure from Amsterdam to Copenhagen, covering 800 kilometers in just 4 days. And again, I used the GPS only setting in order to preserve battery life. I tracked from day to day in order to get a tracking for each day, just in case the watch should crash or the GPX files will get too big. Then I merged all the GPX files through an online tool and then uploaded the entire trip to Strava. One of the features I frequently use is the ability to load music and podcasts directly onto the watch, allowing for a liberating run without needing a phone. However, the interface for music control, especially Spotify, can be frustrating. The navigating is clunky and playlist or podcast is less intuitive than it could be. I don't use this feature that much, and I can also use the music controls on my Bluetooth headphones, so it's not that much of a big problem. If you're planning on listening to music from the watch, I recommend getting a headset with a sufficient amount of music controls, and just load the latest episodes of podcasts you're listening to. If you want to make a custom playlist consisting of the episodes you want to listen to, bear in mind that Spotify will treat that as a track. So if you press previous or fast forward, it will skip the entire podcast and not just 5 or 10 seconds as it usually does. You have to use the podcast function in the app in order to get podcast functionality, which also takes ages to load up. The Fenix 7 Sapphire Solar Edition, released almost 3 years ago, still remains relevant in 2025. After using it for 2 years, I think this watch offers a good balance of price and performance for those wanting a Fenix with a memory pixel display and a solid battery life, but without that $1,000 plus premium price tag. At around $550, this is a great value. While it lacks the flashlight, fast charging, new heart rate sensor of the Fenix 7 Pro, or the speaker microphone of the Fenix 8, it is a no-brainer for those who don't want or need those features. The screen visibility is slightly less than its competitors, and especially the Fenix 8, but you can always opt for the Epix line if an AMOLED or more vibrant screen is more of your liking. This is AJ Miller, and this has been my 2-year long-term review of the Garmin Fenix 7 Sapphire Solar Edition.